Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday, or happy Friday, I guess it can be, all things considered. Not We're kind of on our third day of slowly trying to hang on with crypto and bleed out here. But let's see if we're live here on. There we are. Let me just check to make sure we can hear us on X as I usually do. Okay, here we are. Now let me just throw. I like to throw a little GM for good morning in the chat, make sure everything's working. But yeah, here we are again, right? NASDAQ, you see here, NASDAQ down 0.95, Dow Jones down 0.25, S&P down 0.61. So no good news on the TradFi world other than oil dropped below $70, I think, officially first or second time since the war started. Oil pumped almost 15%. We're now down below where it was when the war started. So GM already feels like a Friday to me, man. I don't know what it feels like to me, but yeah, it's just another continuation. Yesterday, I thought we had a really bad day on Wednesday. Yesterday seemed like it was going to be an up day. It wasn't, and here we are. But it is what it is. You only really, people don't realize this. You only have 12 to 15 really huge pump days a year on Bitcoin, which is about 1 or 2 days a month, right? And the rest of the time it's like this. But today we're in a different situation because we're well below the 200-week moving average, which is a big deal in Bitcoin, and we're also keep testing that 58. Looking today on the look at the daily chart. Bitcoin $59,000. Let me pull this back up again. 59,127 basically. And you see, if we look at the weekly chart, you can see we've been, look, there a couple of days ago. 1, 2, we dropped below it, and now we're there again. So this will be the fourth test of that 59. We even got down 58. So we'll see, right? We keep testing. You can't, you don't want to test that. The more you test it, eventually, sometimes you break through. Not always, but statistically speaking. But yeah, we're down. We look at the daily chart. Here we are for the day. You see, yesterday dropped 2 more times, and now we're, so even just in the last 24 hours, we've tested 58, that $58,000 resistance 3 times. So we'll see what happens. But we did get over 60,000. We're up about almost 1,500 from where we are today, late last night, early this morning. But yeah, welcome everyone on kind of a continuation of the last 2 days. Not lots of good news. The traditional markets opened down. Bitcoin's down 2% since yesterday. Ethereum, 1,539, literally down 3.8%. We got all the way down to 1,500 yesterday, just 1,513. So down a whopping 3.8%. XRP, right at that $1, $2.808. Basically, let's call it $1.02, down 3.6%. Solana is at 69.19, for some reason up 3.3%. So Solana's outperforming everything else big time today. So little bit of good news there, but yeah, it just is what it is. Just a Friday. You can feel the despair and whatnot on the timeline, but And a lot of it, well, we'll get into Saylor stuff in a minute, but X comeback, a lot of you may not know this, but so 26 years ago, Elon Musk started X Money, right? Founder, I guess, X.com, and that became PayPal. A year later, the board ousted him as CEO and replaced him with Peter Thiel. But the domain did not stay with PayPal. Musk bought it back in 2017, which he later used to rebrand Twitter to X. Now, 26 years later, Musk is rebuilding the finance app he originally wanted inside X. X Money is now rolling out to select U.S. users, 6% APY on deposits, and a metal debit card with 3% back. Now, I like that. I'm a huge proponent, big investor in CoinZoom. We have a metal card or a card, the highest level it is metal, that you get, 0.5% up to 5% back, depending on how many CoinZoom you hold. But what's nice about it's a debit card, right? No, I don't know of too many debit cards that offer rewards, but you're going to be able to get back 3% cash back on his metal debit card. I think this is a cool thing. I'll surely support it. I support Elon, though I would sure like to see him fix the algorithm here on X. But anyway, that's cool. But listen, so look, I've been here 5 years, 15 years, right? Or no, more than that, 16 years actually. Almost about 10 years full-time, right? So it's all I've been doing for about 10 years. So I've seen a lot. I was here way before Saylor was. I was here when Saylor was still fudding. When Saylor was still fudding Bitcoin. But so I've seen it all, right? Started buying around 10,000, 11,000, and continued to buy and continued to expand. In the last bear market, Bitcoin got up to like 69,000, and then it went down. And there was a lot of FUD. Saylor's going to tank the market. Saylor's going to get liquidated, margin called, whatever, at 20,000, 19,000. And really, it never happened. We got as low as what, 15.8 or something, just sub 16,000. Never got liquidated, came back, but he got a lot of hate. But nothing like what he's getting now. Of course, he wasn't near as significant a player back then as he is now, right? So it was really but there was a lot of FUD. He's getting liquidated. He's going out of business. He's an idiot, blah, blah, blah. So there was a lot of that happen. He went all the way down. We wrote it from 69,000, 67,000, all the way down to 65. He was fine. Continued to buy both up, down, whatever. Well, continued to expand. Okay. Last year he started, obviously the micro strategies, continue to buy, issue bonds, issue stock, common stock, everything like that. Well, he came up with a few different preferred stocks. The most successful one, of course, STRC, which basically he pays 11.5%. It's fixed. You don't have any equity or anything like that. It's just a fixed income credit type instrument, right? Which he famously said he used AI to design and then go with the lawyers and everything to make it work. Whatever. It's kind of an old idea. I mean, it was more common, decades and decades ago. Anyway, very successful. Went from nothing to like 8.5 billion in 6 months. Now, last summer, he came under attack, mostly from the banks and the institutions and stuff. Didn't like what he was doing. There's a lot of FUD around it. Can't pay his dividends, whatever. So he raised, I think, 3 billion cash, set it aside to pay him. But then the STRC just exploded, right? Especially this year. And so that money now he had enough set aside to pay 2 years to kind of shut people up. But then as it grew, hand over fist, of course, it wasn't enough. So, there was so much MSTR, and that's how he's been buying. He now owns, 4% of all the Bitcoin supply, nearly 850,000 shares. a lot of that fueled by STRC's ability to, he's generating, sometimes he's making $1 billion, $2 billion clips, right? Okay, then it starts to go down, and the thing is, the idea was if it stays over $100, the STRC, it's supposed to be kind of pegged there. People are calling it a peg, but it's really, I guess, called that's really not the right word for it. Par, I guess, would be the right word for it. But anyway, if it stays at par, anything over 100, they can use the money to buy. Anything less, they don't. And they still pay the interest on $100, whether the STRC's $100. The problem is, let's take a look at it here. STRC, and this is where a lot of the hate coming from, a lot of the FUD, or maybe it's legit criticism, who knows, but basically it's $73. So, okay, you're making the 11%. You're actually making the 11%. You're actually making the 11% on $100, whether it's at $100 or not. They're paying it on $100. But here's the problem. It's 73.63. So it's way below. It looks like it wicked down to 71. So it's way below par, right? So people are, okay, you're making 11.5, but you lost 27% of your value, right? So everyone's coming at him like with some real hate, lawsuits, everything like that. Yeah, I see Quantum 5652. Yeah, BlackRock sold $859 million of BTC this week. Yeah, and today they moved over $400 million over. I've got the article here in Ethereum, which usually means they're going to sell it. We also have the biggest 10 billion in expirations today. So yeah, we'll see. It's not a. We'll definitely have a long weekend and maybe a long day ahead of us. But anyway, back to the whole Saylor FUD. That's been getting massive hate. Put Saylor in jail. He's ruined everything. Blah blah blah. I've never seen this amount of hate on the timeline towards Saylor, and maybe legit, maybe not. There's not really a mechanism where he can get liquidated, right? Quantum said if you love STR, you'll love it at 53 or lower. It might see those levels. I mean, just the sentiment alone. But here's what people are really afraid of. Right now, he's got enough money to pay about 10 months. He probably needs another 2 billion to really to get that back up to par, right? So, Mr. Heine, thank Heine. It's Friday. Yeah. Maybe, yeah. It's not feeling like I'm not feeling too exuberant today because of the market conditions, but Mr. Heine from the Heine community, great little community, does spaces every day, shows a lot of support for my shows and projects, and they're all about education. So you ought to definitely check out the Heine. I know they just got, I think, HeineCoin.com too. Or HeineCoin, Heine token. I think HeineCoin. Maybe you can put that in the chat there so people can know where to go. But anyway, so look, he can raise interest rates on it and get more buyers to bring it back to par, or he can sell common stock, which he's been doing. But then that dilutes the MSTR. So it's kind of a vicious cycle. He doesn't have it, or you can sell Bitcoin. Problem with that, and that's what everyone's afraid of, right? He's going to be forced into a corner. He's going to have to liquidate Bitcoin. And just the perception alone, because he's been the main buyer, right? Hey, Coach Master GM. Early for you over on the West Coast. Wish I had some better news today, but we're continuing what we've seen the last couple of days, and a lot of it being pointed at Saylor. But anyway, he did this. So that's the problem. He doesn't really have good options. Raise interest rates, you look weak. It would bring that back to par. Already people think 11.5 is higher. That's kind of a weak, that looks weak. Probably will continue to dump. Sell MSTR, which he's been doing to booster his cash position and to buy. He's been buying a little more Bitcoin too. But you probably needs $2 billion more, right? And that's a lot of dilution. Yeah, 6:50 a.m. in SoCal. Well, yeah, it's I'm only an hour later, and of course it's 9:50 on the East Coast. But so he doesn't have a lot of options, getting a lot of hate. We'll see. But he did respond today. Him and also Fung Lee, his guy, he finally came out and responded today, which he hadn't done yet. And he said, volatility tests every capital structure. Strategy remains focused on Bitcoin, disciplined capital allocation, credit quality, and long-term value creation. We appreciate our investors and will continue to execute with transparency and resolve. So he's obviously, you got to be careful what you say in times like this. Here's the other thing. There's some clips that he talked about, basically no volatility and you can get interest. And there's been a little bit of things he said which could probably be used against him. And listen, it's not uncommon. And Michael Saylor is the longest running CEO of any public company in America on the NASDAQ or the NYSE. So he's been through this before, right? He's had his stock pull down 90+%. So he's been here before, but you got to be careful what you say. But, people start talking lawsuits, all that. I wouldn't let that worry you. That's you get sued all the time. It's just some law firm looking into it. What you really worry about is government regulators coming at you. That could be bad. But anyway, yeah, there it is, right? It's definitely a precarious situation. He doesn't have a lot of good options. Quantum said his only chance is to sell a fat load of BTC to increase cash and commit to not buying anymore. He needs to buy himself time and wait it out. Basically, yeah, absolutely. Now he has two more options: raise the interest rates on the MSTR and the STRC, but that looks weak, and you still kind of you're now making the problem worse, right? Or you can sell MSTR, or you can sell Bitcoin, and people are feeling like he's going to at some point have to sell Bitcoin. Perception wise, it's horrible, and it could tank the market. That's what I think the real fear is, and it may come true. But yeah, he'll wait it out. He's not going away, right? But anyway, this was just kind of resolve concerns. He's in a precarious situation. There's no way. But people are saying your Ponzi is cooked and this and that and whatever. It's the idea is this. The idea is over time, Bitcoin goes up. It's gone up over the last 5 or 6 years, like 70%. He believes it's going to go up 35-ish% every year. And he's going to pay 11 and he's going to keep the difference. And he's probably right. Now, that hasn't happened last year. It's not happening this year. So he's now a year and a half into this bear market, and he's starting to feel the pressure, right? Starting to get some leaks in the boat, in the dam, whatever. So, yeah, he's in a precarious situation. He's not getting liquidated. It's not going away. Could he be forced to tank the market by dumping a bunch of Bitcoin? Yeah. Look, last time he sold 32 and it tanked the market. Anyway, that's the big bad news. But he did respond, take it or leave it. I'm actually, I'd personally buy probably MSTR. Here's the thing. Even on the STRC, it's paying as if it's $100. So if you bought right now and it goes back, you're going to not only get the 11.5%, you're going to get the 27% as well. So it's a bad situation for Saylor, but I think he'll survive, to be honest with you. But can he do it without? I think it's actually better for the stock to tank rather than to tank the whole Bitcoin market. But then you have the thing of you get you get people suing you, your shareholders, stuff like that. Anyway, that is what it is. I'm not hating on Michael Saylor. I think he'll be fine, but yeah, he may tank the market in the meantime. And the bad thing is he's not buying, and he's been the buyer, right? So his system is showing some weakness or feeling some pressure, and he's going to have to make some decisions, right? But hey, Scott, thank Heine, it's Friday. Yep, it's kind of a bloody Friday, unfortunately. Let's check back we just pulled up strategy, 74.41, NASDAQ down 0.9, Dow down 0.36, S&P down 0.6. Good news is crude oil 69.88. So that's going to help the economy overall. Look at some other news. Like I say, just a BlackRock, sold like Quantum said, they already sold nearly what was it? How much did they sell? Let me look back up over the chats. Yeah, 859 million. They just moved 400 million to Coinbase, which usually means they're going to sell. So, Charting Wealth, our good buddy. A lot of people hating on Saylor, like some real hate, like I've never seen. Like everyone was thinking he was going to get liquidated in the last bear market. He didn't. He got a lot of hate from the institutions, but now everyone seems to be turning on him and thinking he's going to tank the price, which he might, which will be a hell of a buying opportunity if you believe Bitcoin's not going away. That's the thing. That's what you have to ask yourself in these times. But these bearish vibes, these horrible things, but we are looking at Bitcoin. We did test. We're testing that. I popped back a little, but see, we tested that 58. Now we're back a little bit. We're actually up almost a percentage since we started the show. But it's man, we also have huge things today, huge options expirations in Bitcoin. Yeah, Quantum talking about Saylor. He's been the only significant buyer for years, and nobody has addressed the issue of where does Bitcoin stand without such a significant buyer. A bunch of wells dumped last summer. Yeah, it is. Maybe he himself is not just taken, just Michael Saylor and strategy of taking Bitcoin up to a higher spot. But what you have to ask yourself right now is the core thesis of Bitcoin changed? Now, if you're looking at it as a speculative asset, yeah, there's faster horses in the race right now, right? AI, space, robotics, all this stuff. But as far as hard money you can't F with, as Jason Williams appropriately titled his book, as far as a hedge against devaluation of the currency and stuff like that, it's still intact now. But yeah, was the price pushed up because we have one massive buyer who believes in it so much? We'll find out, right? We may have Bitcoin might, but we're also look at Bitcoin. We always say the same thing. Look, we went from 69,000 down to under 16,000. It felt the same way, right? And then it's always popped back. But yeah, and I think Saylor will pop back. I don't think he's not going bankrupt. He's not getting liquidated. But there may be some shareholder pain or some Bitcoin pain. All the above could happen. The shares could tank and he still has to dump and take the market down with him. So it is what it is. It's definitely there's no easy solution here. Now, if you look at Michael Saylor, his net worth went up. His net worth right now at today's price is $3 billion. It's still up 6x from when he got into Bitcoin. So we'll see. But people are saying he's going to jail. He's going down the worst investor either. I don't believe any of that stuff. I think he just has to ride it out. And that's what you have to do sometimes, right? There's good times, there's bad times. Now is a bad time. Now, China pumping, crap, man, I'm not even going to be able to get through all the news, so much to talk about. But China pumped in $2.3 trillion this week. So look, banks, governments are not going to quit printing money. Bitcoin just becomes better. Trade deficit was pretty high. It was 105 billion, expected 85. So bad month for trade for the U.S. Imported a lot more than we exported. Singapore tags Hyperliquid as unlicensed. I worry. I love Hyperliquid, but I wonder if they're sufficiently decentralized not to get shut down by all these countries. CZ asked that same question. We've got Clarity Act. Yeah, we've got a 10-day resource, then 20 days when they come back. Not looking great. We'll see. Oil down. That's the only good news, I think, today. Quantum says Bitcoin is having an identity crisis. Now TradFi is in. The hedge against inflation argument once again failed. True, but not. Yeah, because we're treated as a high risk asset, right? And of course, it's the most risky asset. Doesn't work long term. I still think it's a hedge against, more so than inflation. It's a hedge against devaluation, debasement of the currency, and that hasn't changed in my opinion. But yeah, it's definitely, look, when people get scared, you're not in a bottom if you don't start to fear. If you don't start second guessing yourself, we're not near a bottom. Bessent's pushing them to get the Clarity Act traded done here. We've got here's Fong Li. He said global markets and sectors are experiencing unprecedented uncertainty. We accumulated 4% of the world's APAC digital asset for times like these. Yeah, just feel good stuff. Not really saying too much. Don't want to get sued. Despite being down 10 billion, I think. By the way, I think Saylor's like 14 billion upside down, but they're still getting added to the Russell 1000. That'll mean should help the stock price. Grayscale says Grayscale Zach Padani said Clarity Act will act as the biggest catalyst for ending crypto winter. He also remains structurally bullish on Ethereum as the leader in tokenization. Kel's AI crypto, the biggest asymmetric opportunity Grayscale sees. So we'll see. And Bitcoin Fear and Greed at 13. Surprised it's not 3 right now, the way it feels out there. Anyway, guys, it could be a long weekend. We're off the bottoms of the day. We got to get through this weekend. We'll see. We are Monday. I don't like that we keep testing. Now we're up over 60, so that's a nice little bounce. But, yeah, this is what it feels in a bear market. You start to question everything. That's how you know you're near bottom, though. Right now we're feeling like we're going lower. We'll see. Jump over into the GM Bitcoin Morning Show and let's talk some more. Thank you, guys. Have a great weekend. Survive the weekend, I guess, if nothing else, and we'll see everyone Monday. Thanks for joining me live. I appreciate it.